I'm just so glad to be alive with the internet, with AI. A lot of my generation are very skeptical of AI and said, oh, it makes mistakes and it's not as good as going to a library, etc. But I'm afraid their horse and cart stuff. It's good to spread a newspaper out on a table and look at all the headings. A big paper like the Herald used to be, and I think the Australians still like that, a broadsheet. But it's great to have ChatGPT, the first major AI. Now, a few thoughts came to my head this morning. What was it like to come out to Australia by sail in the 1788 period? The ships actually started, the 11 ships started in May 1787. It took 8 months. 8 months journey on board a ship. They stopped in some ports for 4 weeks or longer. Rio de Janeiro, Cape Town. They had to stock up, they had to clean the ships. They had to do all kinds of things. As you know, you can fly from Sydney to London in 24 hours these days. Ships take 30 to 40 days, but still that's much less than the 8 months. You can explore all kinds of aspects of the journey. You can ask, what was it like for a convict child travelling on the ships, the early fleet? There are diaries. How hard would they be to access if you went to, say, the Library of New South Wales? It wouldn't be easy. It would take a lot of time and a lot of walking around the library and checking on cards and checking on computers. But here's this information coming to me directly as I sit on a bench and near the aged care place where I am. You can ask, what did the children notice on the trips out, and how their observations were different from their parents. You can ask about the food, you can ask about the sleeping, you can ask about just about anything that you wouldn't get just from one book. It seems that once the Suez Canal opened, it was a shorter trip to Australia. Once the steamships came in the 1870s, 80s, it was a much shorter trip. These people were quite courageous, and I'm sitting in an area of Sydney that was probably built between 1890 and 1914. The survivors of trips out here must have worked extremely hard to build so much of Sydney in such a short time. The railways, the streets, the houses, incredible. But with ChatGPT, if you can ask a question, you can get the information. There's some weak spots of ChatGPT, but I haven't discovered too many. It's not quite up to date with current affairs. And if you ask it a question like, what's the situation in the Middle East and who do you think is right? It won't answer. It tends to be a bit biased towards women these days and minorities, as you would expect in its answers. It's a bit too diplomatic and polite at times. But anyhow, getting back to my issue, if you want to look up anything to do with an Australian history, it's there at your fingertips. It makes you lazy. I use ChatGPT mostly. I use Gemini. and I use the Microsoft One Copilot. I've yet to explore the others very carefully. There's also Claude and there's Grok. I just didn't find Grok so good on issues that I wanted to check on, but it might have improved and it might be great on other areas. It's possible to do things that you wouldn't have believed before. You can put a photograph into some of these Chat and Gemini and Copilot and ask it to colorize, ask it to improve in terms of sharpness, all those kind of things, and it will make an attempt. Sometimes the attempts aren't so good, but other times they're brilliant. I've got one of my mother back in the 1940s, and it's colorized, and it's just so good. The big thing about photographs is if they do restore, and they radically do it, facial, let's say, qualities sometimes get altered a bit, and it doesn't look like the person in question. But it's possible to say, look, here's Ron, and I did this. He's 88. Can you tell me what he probably looked like when he was 21 and give me a photograph? And it can do that. It gave 2 photographs, and they were pretty good. We don't know exactly what he looked like then, at least I don't, but there was a likeness, and it was pretty good. Anyhow, just some thoughts about AI. It's great for history, great.